Okay. I'm just going to give you a real teeny tiny introduction and I'll let you
Cool.
explain who you are. So,
Sounds good.
if you would please put away your devices and have your eyes up here. So, today's speaker is a local entrepreneur. Her name is Jazz Youngblood. She is are you a current student right now, or are you done with the whole college thing?
I'm done in 3 weeks.
Done, very close.
So I'm done
with the
mentally.
whole college thing. And I'll let you take it away and let you talk about who you are and what you do.
Hi guys, I recognize some of your faces because I've been to a couple of your events. Usually at the end I pop in and say hi. So my name is Jazz Youngblood. I'm the owner of Now Loading Studio here in town. Its end goal is to be a community space for gamers and creators to come in and play games and hang out with each other so that you can collaborate and make cool projects. Right now it's just me. I do everything. So essentially what it is right now is videography, photography, and mobile virtual reality parties, which that got started because I got to go on a South Korea study abroad trip and play virtual reality for the first time in Seoul and fell in love with it. And I was like, I'm not complete trash at a game. This is a fun feeling. So that's essentially all that Now Loading is. It really got started out of a deep-seated passion of mine as a kid. I grew up playing video games with my brothers, and then we transitioned those video games into real-life games when we would go to my mom's for the summer because we didn't have computers or internet out at her house. And so we would take like World of Warcraft style games and then find a way to make them real life using large trees in the woods and sticks. And we would attack the trees with the sticks. So I was LARPing before I knew what LARPing was. So yeah, my entire life was video games, and I grew up with a camera in my hand and my dad encouraging me to write storyboards and do scripts for the ideas that I would come up with so that I could then try to find people to film later. Realized very quickly there weren't a whole lot of people in the Midwest, especially not in the town I grew up in Rolla, that also liked the same things as me. You know Rolla. I'm so sorry. What's up?
I used to live in Rolla before I came to Columbia.
It's so much better here, isn't it?
Yeah.
What school do you guys go to?
Elliott Battle. Well, not anymore, Lang. I'm going to Oakland.
Cool.
I
So
go to school like 30 to 45 minutes away called Burnham.
I go to Battle.
And I go to a place in California High School.
cool. You flew a long way to get here.
She's in Missouri, like, right?
Or do you mean California, Missouri? Because I do that all the time.
And then my wife's in California, Missouri.
I knew I was going to do that.
From California, like, no, like the state.
The other California.
we had
I thought we lived in California.
This is why Missouri should not have cities named after
Like
them.
Mexico.
I agree.
There's an Earth City.
We're
Paris, Missouri.
It's very true.
Earth City, Missouri.
Earth, really?
Yeah, it's actually called Earth City.
Yeah.
All right. So essentially, we. Yeah, this side. Where do you guys go to school?
Earth City is next to Lost.
Sorry. Jeff.
Versailles.
Versailles? Is it Versailles or Versailles? Because I've heard it so many different ways.
We pronounce it Versailles,
Cool.
but of course it's really pronounced Versailles, which is weird.
Her town.
Pronunciation
What school do you guys go to?
Oh, I go to Lang.
Lang?
Me too.
For elementary, I went to Lee School, which is now known as Locust Street. And I don't even think we have a mascot anymore.
Oh.
But now I'm going to Jeff.
Cool. And then any of you four? Very quiet up there?
Yeah.
I thought I recognized you from the Yukatsu gaming because I was watching your guys' streams.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we go to Columbia Independent School.
Cool. Literally everywhere and anywhere. I love this. I didn't realize you guys had such a big group.
We do. It's really, when we started this camp last summer, I think every single camper last summer was from a different school. And, we remember asking at the end of the camp, one of the questions was, would you tell your friends about this camp? And somebody had responded, well, no, because none of them are gamers. So, it's just, I
That's
think
depressing.
It says a lot about our group and kind of how much of a need there is for this, because a lot of us don't otherwise have friends outside of this group. You know, girlfriends anyways.
I was gonna say, a lot of
All my
us,
best friends are guys.
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Same.
No, I mean, like,
they're gay, so.
We're good in general, almost are non-existent in high school.
So,
We
Bless you.
when I used to go to Gentry Middle School, we had a game club that started up when I was in 6th grade. And so when I went there, I was there was only probably 2 girls, including me there.
mhm.
And I believe she left the group, so I was the only girl left, just surrounded by guys.
So that's kind of the part of the reason that at one point my younger brother was helping me out with this company, and every time it happens, they're very awkward. So at one point my younger brother was helping me out with the company, and one of my closer guy friends was also helping me out with the company. And then we realized like very quickly that I needed to be the face of it, not only because I was doing a more fair share of the work, because I'm very bad at delegating. That one's all on me. But also because there is that need. We don't have a lot of female representation in this sphere. And you guys know that because all of your friends are dudes. But you want to hang out and play video games, so you do what you do.
pretty much.
Yeah. So one of the things that Lindsay had asked me to talk about was what one of my bigger failures was, and that actually made me super excited because I love talking about all the times I've messed up, because there's a lot. And it's really fun because then you always get to learn something from it. So like the first big mess up I had with Now Loading was, in all honesty, trying to find a physical location before I had a proof of concept. And what that essentially means in business terms is you have to do a small version of your business to prove to bankers that they should give you money so that you can build it bigger. And even after having a few $1,000s in revenue from that small conception, they still were like, you're still too young, we're not gonna do it. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm still gonna do VR birthday parties and then just go to people's houses and set up VR. End up having to rent a space downtown to do that because, I'm not sure if you guys know this or not, but Midwest internet is crap.
Yes. We moved out to the country out of town, like we live a few miles out of town now. Now we get gigabyte internet because of Como, and then in town it's like garbage. I don't understand how this works.
I don't, because I live
only
in
had
Columbia.
like 2 or 1 mile. Whenever we lived there.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah, sucked.
that's more so just like my background and my story. So I was really more wanting to open up and ask you guys, like, what kinds of questions did you have for me? Because we do have that similar background, and I know a lot of you guys are wanting to pursue something with gaming, whether it's just a hobby or a passion, or if you actually want to be a developer or an actual esports athlete. Like, what are your guys' concerns with that, and what are you guys facing?
I'm curious, like you said you're about finished with college.
Mhm.
What did you study, and did it help you prepare for this business adventure that you're on?
So she was actually one of my teachers, so that's why she's laughing a lot. I studied essentially everything. I ended up switching my major 4 times, still managed to graduate in 3 years. I do not recommend doing that. It's exhausting. A lot of money, a lot of time, and no social life. Don't do that path. It's a very bad path. But, so I started out as business, and then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go do science. And I went back to business, and then I went back to science. Oh, it was 5 times, because I ended up in general studies at the end, because my advisor was like, do you have anything you want to do specifically? Because it doesn't look like it. And so I said no, and then they shoved me into general studies because it meant I could take whatever classes I wanted, which essentially became marketing, which was a lot of fun. We got to do, the entire website got launched by a social media class that I took because we were required to make a blog post every week for 8 weeks straight, and that is enough time for me to get into the habit of sitting down at my computer and typing. Or so I thought, because every now and then I'll take like 3-week breaks and then realize, oh, I haven't written anything, I should go do that. Then classes that really helped were kind of just the ones that made me do stuff. Most of the classes I took ended up with me learning how to just get through stuff I didn't like doing. So like you can ask Dr. Martin, I fell asleep in her class on like a daily basis, but when we were in lab, I loved every minute of it. It was bad.
I'm not that bad in like just
No, she was actually very entertaining. I'm a very easily bored person if I'm not up and moving around.
Do you have ADHD?
Not entirely sure yet. Haven't gotten tested.
I'm ADHD, so I understand. That's why I get medicine.
What I'm saying feels like you need to, for some people, you just have to move around like every 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or you get really agitated.
That's ADHD.
Well, I mean,
You gotta keep moving. Your mind can't focus on one thing.
And I think what ended up happening was I ended up bringing a Rubik's Cube into your class, and that's how I stayed awake for the second half of the semester, because I realized I really needed to be paying attention for the test. But yeah, so it's more so for me, school wasn't really about school. It was more about I went into college knowing, okay, I've got this amount of scholarship money that is going to be giving me these next 4 years to test things out. So I did everything I possibly could to make sure that I was finding something I really enjoyed doing. It all circled back to what I was doing as a kid, but without testing every single thing else out, I wouldn't have gotten to that. So like I came in with a scarf business. In high school, I sat in the back of class crocheting scarves, and then I would sell them in the next class period. I made a pretty good amount for a high schooler. I got in trouble for hanging up posters for my business in school, and then our vice principal actually came up and he was like, okay, you're not allowed to do that, but I would like to get one for my wife for Christmas. And I was like, okay. So by the time I would take it down, Janice had already done it for me, so I was like, I guess it's not that big of a deal. But I also got a bit more leeway because I made sure I like got good grades and did what I was supposed to do in school. So like that was always kind of my family's deal with me, was just do what you have to and then do what you want to on the side. And that was kind of what I did throughout college. I dabbled in a lot of photography. I did a lot of just random classes because I was just like, this sounds like fun. Let's go try this one out for 16 weeks. Let's go do this. And then the biggest thing was finding the mentors on campus that actually connected me to people off campus. So like, I ended up actually meeting Lindsay off campus and then realizing she worked on campus through Dr. Martin and through the Columbia Game Dev Association out of A Million Cups. And so that was a really fun connection to make. And then I also had Becky Bachledge at the Fishman Center, they are the entrepreneurship center on campus, telling me to go to Million Cups, which is Wednesday mornings. A bunch of people in the community get together and talk about business-related activities. And then that's like we listen to a presentation and then we talk and we give them advice and ask questions. And now I'm getting to film for them and film all of the stuff and edit, just because I was going there and I was talking with people. So like, especially with what we all want to do in life, we have to be really good at making those connections. And social media right now is just blowing up. It's so much fun, because I'm not sure how many of you guys are on Twitter or not, but there's like an entire Twitter universe for girls who game. And it's like the most supportive community I've ever tapped into in my life. And I'm just like here on the outside just watching, because I'm not really all that great at games. I like them, I'm just crap.
Same.
So, how are things going right now? Like, I'm curious, it sounds like what you're doing right now is something that you're really passionate about, something that you're really excited about. And so, it's definitely easy to get motivated up front in order to dive into all that. But have you encountered obstacles in this journey where you've been like, I don't know if I should do this anymore, or anything like that, where you've like second-guessed yourself to push through things?
Oh, that was like every day. So yeah, like this is the stuff I love doing. However, like if I could just do it and not have to worry about money, that would make it so much easier. The problem is you do have to worry about money and like finding a way to, if this is what you love, you have to find a way to figure out how you're gonna live off of it. And that is when it gets more difficult. And that's when I'm glad that I have a little bit of just natural entrepreneurism in me, in which I can just kind of figure it out as I go. But I got really into vlogging, and I'm still trying to be consistent at it, but that's one of my biggest struggles. And so I started vlogging from essentially week 1 of the idea, when I decided that I was gonna go after this, and posting those up on YouTube. And I think the first 8 weeks, I was just talking to myself going, what am I doing? This is dumb, nobody's gonna like this idea, it makes no sense. But because it was something I enjoyed doing, I just kind of stuck with it. And that's kind of all you have to do, is just kind of keep pushing really, really hard at what you want to do, and then you will get there eventually. And if not, then at least you tried. Because there is always that, at least you tried is always better than what if. And that is kind of the biggest thing, is I just want to push this as far as I can to see, can I get to that goal and actually take it from the online sphere to a physical space? Because why not?
And you're working a part-time job on the side, right?
I am. Part-time job, technically, closer to full-time hours. But I work at Geek Squad over at Best Buy. So that's fun.
Good professional side, so that kind of complements what you're doing pretty well, I think.
It does. It's also a bit exhausting, because the good thing is with working customer service, you learn how to interact with people really, really well. And you learn how to have people criticize you and slightly yell at you, and then just learn how to let that go, because you have to. Like, you really can't hold on to the amount of times that people will just straight up not talk to you. I have been asked on 3 different occasions because I was not giving them information that they liked, if there was a male in the back who they could talk to.
What?
Just for tech support. And the first time it happened, I was actually just kind of dumbfounded, and I just went to the back and I was like, what the heck? I might have cursed a bit more. The funny thing is that the guys who do work in the back, they aren't cool with that, and so they just stay there and they don't go out until they leave. And like, our GM doesn't really care, because we're all just like, yeah, you're being a jerk. We're not gonna encourage that. And so it's kind of fun, because we've got that group, and like, we've got each other's backs when stuff like that happens. But like, that is a reality. We face that a lot. Not so much at tech support, but like in general, in our sphere that we have decided to go into of gaming and digital creation and all that stuff, it's mostly male dominated. And it's just like, you need that support group. That way you don't just get down on it. Because
It's interesting you mentioned that, because our speaker yesterday said the same thing, where like there's definitely still a public stigma of, you know, girls still being somewhat out of place in this arena.
Oh, it's...
Yet the entire organization that she's involved in has been nothing but supportive of her from the get-go. And it sounds like you're experiencing the same thing.
100%.
It's just a public it's just a public opinion, not the actual
Right.
inside of the.
Exactly.
And you would expect that public opinion to go into organizations, because organizations are made of public people. So
Yeah,
like, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Also, it's kind of racist, just to, like, since they just think that girls aren't allowed there. It's just kind of racist. I mean, not racist.
Sexist.
Yeah, sexist.
Well, I'm glad to hear that there's a positive shift, basically on the inside of things, really.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, every single person, especially female and everybody in the gender spectrum who is pushing for the change, like, it's slowly getting there, and it's slowly becoming more and more. And like I said, like the Twitterverse of girls who game, there is a lot of push right now after Bluga won the Fortnite tournament to see more girls show up at next year's tournament. Like, they're pushing to have as many girls as possible getting to these larger events. And there are companies out there who are actually trying to help sponsor specifically female e-athletes to get them to the events. Because that's another thing, is like, you can be really good, and it's really hard to get there.
I thought you were going to say that businesses are like pushing against girls trying to do that for a minute. Like, I thought you were going to say that.
They won't stay in business very long if they do. What's up?
I mean, it's been like that for hundreds of years. I mean, people have always think that women are a lot less than males. And that's not true, and it hasn't been true for more than 100 years. But they hold on to the idea because it makes them feel better about themselves.
I mean, you're not wrong, but I think it's more important because while that is true, to me that's a more negative outlook on it. And maybe it's because I have a more cynical brain naturally, so I'm constantly fighting that. I very much look towards the positive side of, okay, this is how it is, this is reality. What can we do to get where we want to be with this spectrum of everything? So we want to see more girls represented in gaming. How do we support those girls and make sure that they're getting enough time to practice? Make sure that they're still getting the grades so that their parents will let them do stuff. And then explaining to them that while you might feel a bit isolated and you're gonna go through a whole different sector of weirdness posting your stuff online than guys do, like that's just part of it. It's all really about building a thicker skin so that it doesn't get to you as much, so that you can continue to let yourself do what you love. Because at some point, as long as you're making yourself excited and you're loving what you're doing, it really doesn't matter what other people say if you're sure that that is your thing. So like, we don't, and we're raised to be more socially conscious. We're raised to make sure that people like us, that we're nice to everybody, but that's not really how we all are. We all have our own personalities and everything like that, and that's more important to show that than it is to show that, oh, I can be calm and quiet, but naturally, whenever I'm talking about something, like I want to be loud, I want to take up space, and so that's what I do. That's what we all should do, because that's how you get noticed.
How hard was it, like, I mean, I know that you, like, swapped your majors, like, 3 times, like, managing a business, managing a business, and then also having to work through your major at the same time. How was that? Because I'm terrible at time management, and I'm trying to be, like, any sports player.
Yeah. So my thing was I took my main priorities, in which I knew that to keep my scholarships, I had to have a 3.25. Which is a lot harder to maintain in college than I ever gave it credit for, and actually ended up losing that a year and a half ago. And so I had to switch to online classes in order to still be on track and not be going into loads of debt, because that was my big thing going into college, was I didn't want to graduate in a hole that made me be forced to be in a job that I didn't like so I could pay off loans. Like, I wasn't going to do that. So I kind of melded school around what I was wanting to do. However, if that's because my family was more supportive of that. If you come from a more conservative family that's like school first, school is the most important, you have to be okay with the fact that either they're not going to be as supportive of it, or you might have to figure something else out on your own. So like, if you do have a more conservative family and you are still wanting to build stuff on the side, something's going to have to give. And that's not always of those 2 big pillars. There's plenty of other things. For me, it was social life. I wasn't too concerned about having the typical American college experience at all. I didn't live on campus because it saved me a lot of money in the long run. I didn't hang out with friends and go to all the events that everybody else went to because I was home creating. So I would go to school during the day and then I did work study, and then I would go to my part-time job. And once I got home from that, I would do my homework, get that done, and then I would work on whatever project I was working on at the time. So like right now, I'm finishing up school, so I'm in 1 class online, so I have to work like 6 hours a week on school. And so I just pick 2 days a week that I'll just bust it out, get all the work done, and then I'll spend the rest of my time that I'm not at work, essentially at my house, editing videos, streaming, editing gameplay, stuff like that. So you kind of just have to pick and list out all your priorities and figure out what is your ambition, and how are you going to put those priorities in line so that you're not giving up the most important things. Spending time with your family is one of the most important things, especially if you guys are close. Spending time with friends is necessary because we are very social creatures. You can't isolate yourself. You will start to go insane. School, if your family pushes that a whole lot, or if that's something personally that you push in yourself, you can't give that up. You got to find the little holes to put the thing that you love into so that it helps to fuel you for the rest of everything else. And then say that, okay, maybe I don't need to be going and playing on the Xbox for 30 minutes because I want to do really good at Overwatch on the computer. So you could shove out the Xbox time to focus on the computer. And that's just kind of like, time management really isn't managing it, it's just your priorities, and make sure that you have those in line with what you want to do.
Well, I'm curious, so where do you see now loading going? You know, like 5 years from now, what are you hoping now loading looks like?
I love this question. So for me, now loading is right now everything that I want to do. And I describe it as a playground for myself because that's really what I'm building, and I'm just letting other people into it. So in 5 years, I'm really hoping I have at least one physical location. Because my biggest thing that I started with this is I wanted to have a space. I didn't want to just create an online forum. I didn't want to just create an online community. I wanted to give a space for all the people like me who didn't have a place to go to meet other people like them to go. So essentially, and I can draw this out very clearly, it'll be a very large Google-like campus in the long run. In 5 years, it'll probably only be one building. But it will have all of the necessities you need for content creation, for gaming, virtual reality with the omnidirectional treadmills, I'm actually learning how to build those because they're very expensive and I don't want to pay for them. But just all the games, all of the green screen rooms and the streaming rooms and everything that you can need in order to learn the skills that you want to have and not have to pay a ridiculous amount for it. But then also still holding true to that community aspect of you can go there and just hang out with your friends. Like you don't have to go do anything.
So we have a lot in this group who are interested in going into fields like video game design, animation, character creation, graphic design. This room is just oozing with creativity right now, quite honestly. So
that makes me so happy.
Especially since we do have quite a few younger campers in the group that maybe by the time some of you guys hit high school, this is going to be the prime spot for you to go and maybe to work together, to collaborate, to get projects off the ground. And by then, Jess is going to be an expert at this stuff, so she'll be able to help.
Or at least give you guys the connections for the people who can help much better.
Any other questions?
I'll do my work from earlier. So I know like looking at the screen all day or doing one thing for a long period of time wears people out, especially me. Like I get tired, like I know I need to do this thing, but after doing it for like a few days in a row, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take a break. But then like I procrastinate going back to it because it made me so exhausted. Do you have like a way to mentally prepare yourself to do that step again and like push forward to that idea?
My thing is routines. I will live and die by if I do a routine properly. So like whenever I know I get a day off, I'm very excited because that means I get to work all day on the thing I like doing. And I don't have to get yelled at by people. So it makes it for a really nice day, even though I'm still exhausted at the end of the day. So my routines for whenever I'm working versus whenever I'm doing now loading are completely different. Like the mornings start out the same because if I don't eat in the mornings, I'm just not there for the whole day. So I always make sure that I get up and have breakfast. I am also a person who did sports throughout all of school. And by sports, I mean I could run really, really long distances for a long amount of time. I ran cross country. That was it. I couldn't do any other sport because they were all too complicated.
If you added a ball, you have soccer.
I couldn't do that. I tripped and hurt myself a lot. So for that, it's more so just finding the time and dedicating it to it. For me, mentally, I have to have breaks from the screen. So I go and I'll either go on a run or I'll go to the gym, or now that my brother lives with me, I get to play with his dog. I'll just take him outside because he's a very hyper dog. He's like this tall and he's only 6 months old. It's very adorable. But so for me, that's what works. And then the other thing that I found out, because I was having really, really bad migraines throughout the day, because at school I would be looking at my computer all day at school, working tech support, so I was looking at computers all day, and then going home and editing well into the night, and so then I was looking at computers longer. I was getting these really bad headaches, and so I started doing some research into it, and I got a pair of those blue light filter glasses off of Amazon that were like $5. They are the best things I've ever bought. So whenever I wear contacts, I have a pair that I got from Best Buy because I lost my other pair, and I'll wear those. However, I also, whenever I went in to get new glasses, got those on my prescription glasses because I do like wearing my glasses more often than not, except for when I'm downtown and I ride around on my longboard. I'm scared of them breaking. So it's more so just like creating that routine that gets you into habit. So, and I'm blanking on the dude's name. I actually just listened to a podcast where he was explaining it a lot better than that. But it's essentially you have one activity that you do, and it's kind of like a domino.
Things as simple as just reducing the number of decisions that you have to make during the day.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that you can use your brain power for other things. You know, there is a reason that some of the most successful people in the world wear the same outfit every single day and eat the same thing for breakfast every single day, because even just wasting time on that one decision of what am I wearing today uses up brain power that you could be dedicating to something else.
And you don't realize that until you're doing it. And then so like my breakfast, I eat 2 eggs, 2 pieces of bacon, and I put hot sauce on it. You don't realize after you're doing that for like 2 months until the bacon is not there because the last bit was eaten and you forgot to go get more, but you still had more eggs. And so like I was making breakfast when that's actually what happened. Was I was making breakfast and I was like, wait a second, this is off. And it just took me like 5 minutes to finish making food because I was just so out of my element all of a sudden.
Little things.
Also, I hadn't had coffee yet, so I mean, that's part of it.
I try to wear t-shirts all the time. I don't like wearing anything else but t-shirts, so.
I agree.
Steve Jobs with his black turtleneck every day. This is Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs.
The guy who made, oh my God. I'm just gonna,
Okay, it is about time for us to transition to our afternoon activities, getting our professional photos done. So excited.
sweet.
Do you guys have, we have time for one more question. Are there any more questions that we didn't get to?
I'm excited, possibly hopefully have a place to do VR in Columbia and not having to beg my parents to drive 2 hours away.
Yes. And they are, just recap, what kind of services do you provide in case any of these girls want to give you a call and book you for something?
I do photography and videography, that's mostly for other businesses, but I do virtual reality birthday parties, and by that I have 2 Oculus consoles that we set up, and then we have an Xbox and a PS3 as well.
Okay, cool.
Never heard anybody say that for so long. PS3.
I know, I have refused to upgrade. I'm waiting for the 5.
Oh, yeah. My birthday's in a few months. It's less than a month, actually.
There you go. I'll make sure and share out Jess's contact information so that if you guys do want to book her for anything, when you can get in touch. You'll probably see her at future Girls Week events as well. Yes. Okay.
And then the other thing is we're also doing giveaways of these t-shirts. And I'm also trying to find people to make new t-shirt designs. So a lot of you guys seem to like creativity.
Oh, yeah.
DM me, everything is now loading studio.
I have social media.
Again, I'll give you guys all the contact information for all of our speakers this week who have said, please contact me. I'll have all that stuff for you guys.
I like doing t-shirt designs.
I just know, like,
I'm very bad at them.
that's the thing, actually.
I was very proud of this one. That's my logo. Yep.
Is everyone wearing a t-shirt today?
I mean, I have it in a bag.
Thank you guys. This was fun.